Welcome to the Shutter Saga Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Blue. Join me each week as we dive into amazing conversations with some of our industry's top leaders. We will talk about photography, business, and most of all, share the stories that have laid the foundation to our journey in this world we call photography. A couple of ways to support the show is to like, subscribe, and share the show with others. Leave those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and if you're a fan of seeing us live, we are on YouTube. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Again, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shutter Saga Podcast. With me this week is a good friend, probably one of the best friends that a person could ever have in this industry. He's everyone's friend, so if you ever said anything bad about him, you would get a running Yakuza kick from yours truly, because he is one of the nicest individuals in this industry that this industry has ever produced. He's a photographer, father, husband, man of the people. Coming to us from Louisiana today, we got Leroy Tademy on the line. Leroy, how you doing, bud?
Man. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, man.
Good,
Excited
man. So
about it.
Thank you, man. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know we got conference season coming up. You got clients, you got, everything in between. So we always appreciate your time and, making time for this little podcast that's growing slowly but surely. Let's get right into it. If you guys have never heard of Leroy, go on to Creator Series Season 1. He was one of the 3 finalists. I believe it was, third finalist. And he was basically, though, every week someone gets, there's an elimination or whatever, but we all collectively say he won. He was the person. He didn't win the season, but he won everyone's hearts and minds. That's the best way to describe his performance on Creator Series. Man, it's true though. When you got eliminated, that was a gut punch to anybody that knew you. Did I lose you? You there, man? Leroy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, did I lose you?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, man. So
yeah,
tell me about.
It was tough when I got.
So yeah, let's dive into season 1. We'll talk a little bit about that, but I definitely want to talk about like your growth overall and like kind of like your journey. Obviously, that's what the show's about. It's about our stories and our journeys, and it's used to captivate others to just learn from us. But let's talk about season 1, man. How intense was that for you, bro?
Man, season 1 was. I remember like it was yesterday. Me and my family, we were visiting Hot Springs. We go every summer as a family. Mom, dad, all me and all the kids, my sister, sometimes my brother. We all go to Hot Springs, and I was in the little condo washing dishes, and my wife was like, "Hey, you're gonna be on Creator Series." I was like, "What? Me?" She was like, "Yeah, you're on the list." And I'm like, washing dishes, and I'm like, "Oh Jesus, I'm on the show!" And I was so excited, right? And then I was like, "Oh wait, I'm on the show." So I was like, I need to start working out or something. So because you know the nerves, like I want to make sure I'm on TV, looking the part. I want to be huffing and puffing because you're gonna have that adrenaline rush.
Oh yeah,
so that's immediately what I thought, and got there. I didn't know anybody really. I was a person who was always at Shutterfest, just walking around, just looking at everything like a kid in a candy store, not knowing anybody, but interested in everything. And I didn't understand the concept of shoot and move. So I'd be like, "Hey, can I take a photo?" And they'd be like, "No." And I was like, "All right." And then I would just walk until somebody said yes. And then when I got on the show, I just applied for it while I was sitting in the crowd, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, who cares? I'll just apply. And when I got to the show, I know I'm a little bit all over the place with it, but when I got to the show, I saw the people on there, and I was like, I'm not going home first. And all right. So I made it past the first one, and I was like, kind of like being here. But my goal was to not be pushing out the most impressive content at the beginning. My goal was to kind of stay in the middle of the pack, because once you go high, you can't go back down.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just have to be better than 3 people today. The next episode, I have to be better than 1 person. And I kept saying that. And then I started getting mad. Not mad, but like I started saying, these people keep winning. And I was like, it's time to level up.
Yeah.
And a lot of my inspiration, no doubt, came from Lindsay Adler, to be honest. Like she has a brain like nobody else. And I was like, all right, what would she do? All right, now how can I level it up? How can I level it up a little bit? And it's hard to level up her, right? So
Oh
view
yeah.
is like shooting for the stars but hitting the moon on some of my concepts. But yeah, man, it got to a point to where if you weren't first, you might as well be out towards episode 4 for me. Right after the mirror shot, because I was thinking about that mirror shot and I was like, everybody's gonna put the face on the glass. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. Because I knew my judges at that point of the show, I started to relate to the judges and how they thought. And they was tired of the cookie cutter. They wanted
They
different.
wanted the unique, yeah.
Yeah, so I said, I'm gonna risk it. And, Justice for Jess came out, but I tried to put a product out there that was different than what they were asking for. And the one light challenge, I was really trying to do a gel mixture with, I was trying to get two colors with one light, but I couldn't pull it off, so I went black and white on that one. And then my last one, it was gels too, and I wanted to use the gel, and you had to figure out how to use the gel in my shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point, I was just trying to push the limit further than my expertise. And I also was nervous, so I tried to get another shot, but I should have just stuck to my plan. But yeah, that was kind of the show, man. Just fast, furious, and crazy. But
Has
I
the
kept
attention?
some worship music in my ears
There you go. So
to keep me chill.
has the attention from the show been positive or or crazy since then, or is it kind of just another day in the in the life of Leroy?
The show definitely opened my eyes internally. It let me know that I could do more. I was actually better than I thought I was. Because I'm over here in Louisiana, man, and I'm shooting sports teams, schools, seniors, and I'm trying to keep my family fed. So whenever I get a chance to do something creative, I go all out. So to go on a show to where I didn't have to worry about getting everybody through the line
Mm-hmm.
before coach was mad was a huge blessing. So I feel like, number one, it opened up my mind and showed me that I'm actually more creative than I thought I am. And I feel like a lot of people in the industry recognize that, oh, you actually have a thought process outside of making money. So,
Well,
right,
yeah. I mean,
we do.
it's one of those. You want to be creative. You have to do things a certain way to keep the business afloat, to kind of play it safe, but
Mhm.
then pick and choose those moments when you want to take a shot. But you mentioned Lindsay Adler being an early influence. So how long have you have you considered yourself a photographer now?
This is year 13.
Okay,
I
so
got
13
13
years.
tax refunds.
Nice. So 13 years.
Yeah.
So what's kept you motivated in those 13 years? What's been like a big motivational source for because 13 years isn't a short feat, and that's a lot longer than most that are out there now. So
hmm Once to me, it's not even about photography anymore. It's what the Lord's given me as a ministry, to be honest. Because when I came in it, and I'll tell you a little backstory if that's okay.
that's
I was
perfect. I
trying my
love it.
best not to be a Yeah, I was trying my best not to be a photographer because I was working at Sears. I was in this awesome management training program. They had 80 of us. We were going to take over the whole Sears. That was the idea. We're the next leaders for the whole company. And we were on a lot of conference calls, learning a lot about business. And obviously, everybody knows Sears kind of is not around anymore. So God was like, do photography. And I was like, all right, cool. I was getting unemployment at the time, and I had a severance package. Don't know how that happened, but that's how Sears had set it up. So I'm sitting at
Okay.
home trying to take photos, and I'm like, nah, I ain't enough money, bro. I gotta go find something else to do. I got kids. So I said, I'll go back to school because I already had a degree. I went back to do alt certification to teach. So I was teaching on a temporary authority to teach, making enough money to support my family. I only had 2 kids at the time, which was awesome. So they didn't really require much money. And my wife had a little part-time job. She's a graphic designer at the church. After we had our first, she decided she wanted to stay home. So I kept teaching. And then she said she wanted to do photography on the side too. And I was like, cool. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing now. And you do that. So I taught for a year. And I remember I was on a photography job because I was kind of dabbling in it more. And I was in the Rayburn building in DC because I was shooting something for this organization called Kufi. And long story short, they said, "Hey man, you're not certified. We're cutting your pay in half." And I was like, "Bro, I could hustle that with the camera, but y'all about to pay me." And I said, "I'll stay for half the year till y'all find a teacher, and then I'm gonna just jump in it full time." And I just jumped in it, and lo and behold, 13 years later, or that was probably 10 years later, or 11 years later, because I was doing school, teaching and doing photography at first, and never looked back, and just said, "Hey, you keep making me do this, so you're gonna have to provide the increase, Lord." And He did.
Yeah, that's beautiful,
So,
especially the part that you were teaching and doing photography. It was very, very similar to my start, which a high school teacher. Photography was the side hustle. And then when it came time for contracts to come out the next year, no raise to be seen. Another bonus got cut. And I'm just like, how am I going to survive? I've got 2 kids now. And I said, hey, look, I'm supposed to be in this bracket now because I've been here 4 years at the school. You know, when is my time coming? Because I was promised this last year when I signed, and now you're giving me another excuse. And then they gave me the next excuse and said, you know, this is the best you can you're gonna be getting. And I just go, okay. And then I went, grabbed my wallet, showed them the check that I made from the wedding I did. At that point, that was the highest wedding I had shot in my career at that time. I said, look, this check is 3 times what I make as a teacher. I said, I can quit right now and go do photography full time and make more money doing it. And I kind of said that as a moment to talk a little shit to the principal or whatever, just because his attitude was when contracts come out, he has us by the balls because he knows we need the money. He knows we got to make a living. But they said no. I said okay. They called my bluff, and then I didn't resign for when the contracts were due, and I didn't resign. They were like, oh, people were like, wow, he was being serious, and went all in and hadn't looked back since. And here we are. Now I'm doing 11 years just like you, so right behind you with that. But with seniors, like, what was it about seniors that stuck out that made you want to go down that avenue?
There's just a lot of potential in that market where I was at. Like there was already the guy in town doing the lady in town doing the weddings. There's no way I could battle her. She had it sewed up pretty good, and maybe I could have, but I felt like that was what she loved. So I was like, I'll do something if I get some, but that can't be my focus. And then I was thinking, you could do families, but it seemed like everybody and their mom was doing families. But these high schoolers who are transitioning into adulthood, it seemed like there was only a handful of people really trying to work with them. And I was like, hey, man, when do people have this much optimism on life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go work with them and just kind of be that last person to love on them before they go out into the world and take over. And at the time that I was looking, I was like, okay, so I went to school for teaching. All my friends were all coaches, so that was my network as well. So I said, okay, how we get seniors? I can't be the creepy dude at the mall trying to, hey, how old are you? Can I take your picture? Like, I couldn't be that dude. So I went to sports and started doing sports photography, and then I would have 4 or 5 seniors on each team, and I was like, hey, can I do your photos? And they're like, sure. And then I got another team, and then I was just doing that so I could be around the clientele. So I was at the games on Friday nights, at the volleyball games, at the basketball games, just on the sideline shooting. And then I realized, man, this is actually a good time. And then I started getting more and more seniors, more and more seniors. And then next thing you know, we was just rolling with like more seniors than we could handle.
Nice.
So,
Hey, that's a good problem to have, versus like trying to have like those 7 seniors that you get, and you're like, okay, well, I've got 5 senior reps, and then I only booked 4 seniors. Like, crap, this is going to be a rough year. Versus like, I told a friend of mine recently, she was talking about how she had 45 seniors, and she goes, I'm kind of feeling overwhelmed. I said, that's a good problem to have. I said, because you already know with what you charge just on session fees, what your guaranteed pay is to walk away from,
right.
And the business side of things was getting to her where she felt like she was putting too much time with the senior reviews and selling and orderings and stuff. I said, but that's how you make your additional money. You can stop doing all that and just go digital, shoot and burn, but then you realize how much money you're leaving on the table if you do that. So, but that's been cool. So with seniors, have you been obviously you're in Louisiana, but I mean, I know you've been a few other places. What's been one of your favorite because Louisiana is just a beautiful state. Like obviously I traveled to New Orleans, and they're going to get a piece of my family with my daughter going to Southern now next year. And, I'm going to have to make some frequent trips. Yeah, I got to make some trips out to Louisiana. And Baton Rouge and going to New Orleans. Now I'm starting to do a little bit more work out there, a couple weddings and whatnot. But what has been your favorite place to shoot at in Louisiana, and then what's been your favorite place to be at outside of Louisiana?
My favorite place to shoot at in Louisiana here as of late has been my studio because I just moved in here. I've been here about a year.
Okay.
I would say we used to have this beautiful place. I can't remember the name of it, but it got torn down, and it was like this park, this state kind of park. It wasn't a national park, but it was a state park, and just think of like Shangri-La, but it was more country. And we had it, and I remember I did this girl's bridal. Her name was Maria Matoyer there, and it had beautiful flowers, beautiful landscaping. It was like Avery Island. Have you been there?
I have not
Like
been
the
there.
Tabasco? You ever heard of that Tabasco sauce?
I think that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like a hot sauce.
Okay.
But it's like everywhere in the world. Well, that plant, Tabasco plant, is in Louisiana.
Okay.
And they have this thing called Jungle Gardens. Well, there was another spot, like Sinlaw, Central Louisiana. They had something like that. I think it was like Pitkin or something, somewhere weird. And I went up there and shot one time. And it was the most beautiful place I ever seen in the world. And it got closed down because budgets. But that was my favorite spot.
Okay, and outside of Louisiana, or was that the one that was outside of Louisiana?
No, that was the one inside Louisiana.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I'd say outside of Louisiana, I just went to LA and shot an engagement couple, and I really liked downtown LA.
Oh wow, okay.
Especially Griffith Observatory, that was legit, and the little urban light thing was cool too. So that's kind of high on my head. So, okay, I liked it better than New York.
Oh, okay. I've been to New York, done the wedding there, done all the, done the Central Park engagement. I've openly said New York's not my cup of tea.
Yeah,
I get it. It's a different energy, especially when I mean, I think you can relate to it when you come from the South. You have a certain energy, a certain mannerism, and I think it doesn't fit with the New York crowd. Like, I grow where we're from. We say hello to each other. We say excuse me. We say thank you. It's that Southern hospitality. It's embedded in our, in us. And then you go to somewhere like a New York, and there's just like the weird looks of like when you open the door for somebody, they think you're trying to like attack them or something. You're like, no, that's just what I do. And so it's like they're not used to me, and I'm not used to them. But I mean, if I got to go there for work, I got to go there for work. But it's just one of those. If I want to go there just for the hell of it, it's not on my top of the list. But LA, definitely love the state of California. Beautiful place to shoot at. And, but it's just expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive. And they're more like chill, right? So we're more proper and hospitable. I guess that's the word. They're more laid back and relaxed. So it was an easy kind of
it's an easy transition
to go from here to there. Still, what's up, man? So it was cool.
Like they go there when they're like, it's like when you say, "Oh, excuse me," they're like, "Oh, thank you, man. That's cool." Like he's so nice. Like he is the nicest guy I've ever met. I'm like, nah, man, just this who we are. There's no reason to be an asshole, but to each his own, I guess. But
yeah.
But so tell me about your approach. When you especially when you're working with teenagers and trying to create these creative shots and everything, and to stop the mundane, because it's like with seniors, it's always like, how do you avoid falling into the cookie cutter Pinterest style? Like, in your growth in the 13 years, what is it that you've done to, I guess, constantly evolve or stay at the top of your game?
So one thing I'm doing is like, for instance, I have this print right here of this little girl. And we wouldn't have ended up at this little park if I wouldn't have asked her the right questions. She had 2 dogs, and I was like, "Hey, what do you like to do with your dogs?" And she's like, "I like to bring my dogs to the park," and that's how we end up to the park. So I'm like asking questions. Like there's a process to where I'm finding out about who you are. Like she was in band, she played, the drums, and she liked her dogs, and she was very passionate about her school, and she loved it. And then she had plans to go into another college that's close to your daughter's college. And I found out all this stuff about the seniors. So when I go to when me and my team sit down to make their shoot, it's very tailored to them. So I think just getting to know the client and asking the right questions and letting them speak out who they are really lends itself to finding creativity within every shoot.
Nice. I love it. I love it. So it really comes down to the approach and your preparation, which is
Right.
always key. If you go in there winging it, you take a huge gamble. Sometimes it doesn't pay out, but yeah, I always believe the more prepared you are for a shoot, the better the results. But I mean, like even with your growth, like as you evolve, because obviously Lindsay was a early influencer. Who else has been part of that influence in your growth?
Kirk Clean, definitely.
Okay. What is it about Kirk that?
I went to his Creative Live class in Seattle years ago.
Oh man, you dropped out Creative Live. I haven't heard that phrase. I haven't heard that term in a long time.
So it's funny. I was talking to Jerry Hughes. I don't know if you know Jerry Hughes, but he does a lot of dance and sheer like volume work. And he was on a bunch of classes. So we were laughing about that last weekend in Orlando. And yeah, I remember I went to Kirk McLean. He's from Houma, Louisiana, which is close to New Orleans. And he had a class. It was like senior photography. And I was like, bro, this is exactly what I want to do. And I had already applied to like 5-6 classes on the Creative Live, your Vaughn, Bambi Cantrell, Lindsay Adler. I was applying for all the big boys, you know? And then I saw this dude named Kirk Clean, and I was like, hey, man, he right down the road. I need to check him out. He doing seniors, how to get $2,000 a senior. I don't know how to make $200,000 a year shooting seniors. And I was like, I don't make $200,000 a year just shooting one genre.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And so I was like, I messaged him, hey, bro, can I come to your class? Because I didn't even go through Creative Live first. I went to him.
Mm-hmm.
I went to him first and said, can I be in your class? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, whoa. I went back and filmed the video. I was like, I want to be in the class. Yeah, you know how they used to make us do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it. And then I got picked. I got that email. Boy, I was so excited. I was like, I'm about to make $200,000 a year on senior photography. And it did not happen right after, of course. But I learned so much from him, man. And his class was structured to where we all asked questions. The internet asked questions. He wrote them all down on the board. He answered every single one of them. It was 3 days of that. I learned so much in that one day. And the thing that tripped me out with him was he had a process. He didn't go out there clickety, 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 click. He said 6 pictures per 6 pictures per outfit.
Oh, wow.
And I said, 6 pictures per outfit? He said, 6 pictures. I might click it 12 times, and then they going to change. His process was so refined. And then while he was shooting, he would tell you, oh, that's going to be great for the album. Oh, this one will look great on your wall. So he's suggestively selling. Mm-hmm. Everything had a purpose. And I watched him, and I said, bro, I'm not listening to these 20-somethings no more. I'm going to listen to the 40, 50s because they've been around in business forever.
Yep.
And yeah, sometimes their work didn't look like what I wanted my work to look like because their work might have looked more old school, but it was still had a place for that, you know, because that's who was spending the money.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to develop my own style within that parameters of using the soft skills and the suggestive selling during the shoot to build up my brand like it is today. So as far as business, between him and Goldman Sachs 10K Small Business Program and Lindsay, those 3 were huge.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, you know, when I hear like when we talk about regions, I don't even want to say state of Louisiana, but the region, like Southern region, like your name does circulate a lot in the senior market. So, you know, and is like even before Creative Series, I knew who you were as far as like, you know, who are the best at each genre. Like, who do I need to look at or kind of like not say model my career behind, but who do I need to like almost like who are the people that you want to not necessarily compare yourself to, but like, okay, those are benchmarks, you know? And it was like Leroy Tademy. First off, your name stuck out because it's Leroy, and obviously I grew up watching Last Dragon, Bruce Leroy, so that was like the main reason why your name stuck out. But then it was like, okay, the guy looks like me, he kills it, he's in the South or whatever, he's in Louisiana, I'm in Texas. Okay, let me see what's okay. Now, boom, there's my benchmark for seniors, you know. And like I said, I can on one hand count on how many other people are like doing it at a high level, and because I mean, I've always been. My approach with seniors was like that to make the type of money that I would want to make. I just felt like it was very foreign Like my
Hmm.
original senior mentor was Melanie Anderson, but
Oh
when
yeah.
she would tell me the stories about how she made more on a senior than I made at a wedding, and this is early in my career, 2016 and 2015. I'm just like, man, there's levels to this game or whatever. But hearing your story and hearing your approach to it, it's easier to understand how those level jumps have been able to be made, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, just as we grow and expand, I remember you saying somebody was drowning with 40. Once you get that process, like I got Evolve and Dustin, them
Hmm.
knocking out post production. We got a manager who sits in here and makes sure everything's scheduled. So my main functions today are shoot, network, and sale, and everything else is somebody else's responsibility. So that's the only way you can get your machine to run constantly, is to make sure you're doing the three things that you're the best at, which for me is shooting, selling, and marketing or networking.
Yeah.
So
I'm kind of right there in that same boat with you. So with growth, I mean, because like I said, 13 years, like I said, it's not an easy feat. And again, it's a number that many people that we come across today don't even touch. Most of them haven't even been in 10 years, or they have an exit plan, and or they have that first kid, and then it becomes, or it becomes overwhelming, and then it's not fun anymore. When you talk about longevity, like how did longevity look to you earlier in your career versus what it looks like now?
when I first started, I was kind of like when I was on the show. I'm just trying to stay around, you know, and see what happens. And then you get hit by Uncle Sam, right? All the taxes you didn't know are now at your feet, and it's time to pay. If you can make it through those first 5 years, that's that's incredible, because it seems like no matter how high you get, it's just like the government and rent and all the little fees. The bigger you get, the more they need.
Hmm.
Everything, not just government, but everything. You need more cameras, you need more equipment, you need more knowledge, you need more everything, because you're scaling up, because you don't want to stop growing. So if you can make it past the 5 year mark, you're good. But then it gets even harder year 10, because year 10, we we had COVID hit around in between that 5 and 10 year, and it's like, are you gonna make it? So for me, the longevity is remembering I don't work for me, I don't work for my kids, I don't work for my wife, I work for God. Number one, that's who I work for, and I have to come every day and bring my A game to represent the faith. Second, I got to make sure my family's taken care of and my wife's taken care of. And if I keep those two first, everything else it'll figure itself out. And that's been the driving force to keep me rolling. So even if you're not a believer, maybe you're whatever your thing is, focus on that and make sure you get that, because that's going to cause harmony all the way down.
Nice. I have no problem with you touching on your faith. Do you think or do you credit your faith on getting you through like an era like COVID? Because I know for senior photographers it hit them hard because their clients weren't in school. Seniors got hit hard, families got hit hard, and that to me that genre got hit hard. Like, yeah, the wedding industry got hit hard because we didn't have any weddings, so we had to adjust to do micro weddings, or we just said fuck it and we did weddings anyways, and was
Mm-hmm.
willing to take the tickets. I mean, Texas, when
Yeah.
we like, I did a lot of weddings during COVID that people didn't know about, and then when we started opening back up, they were like, dude, where these 20 weddings come from? I'm like, you don't want to know. Like, we were doing secret,
Right.
we were doing secret weddings big time. Like, venues were
Yeah.
opening on the hush, and because they were ticketing, they legitimately were writing up tickets, and people were getting in trouble. But you did what you had to do, because when you get the first cancellation, then the second one, then the fourth one, then next thing you know, it's like
Yeah.
I had 6 cancellations, we're out 25 grand. You're like, crap, now it's getting real. And I was looking
Yeah.
at the thing, and I looked at the budget, told my wife, I said, we're good until about October, then we need to get worried. But by the time May hit, I just said, you know what? I got caught if somebody said they'll give me $3K to go shoot a wedding right now. I'm going to go do it. And she's like, be careful. And, I threw the mask on and did my thing. And,
Mm-hmm.
would drive around the street clothes, go show up to the wedding, change into like a proper attire and everything, so people would know I was actually working or whatever, and I didn't wear any branded clothing, all that good stuff. But would you credit do you credit your faith getting you through the ups and downs?
Yeah, and I had a little God wink. Right around the pandemic time was right the first time I got a school, actually, like a school yearbook job. And it was 8 years after I left teaching, and I was teaching fourth graders. So my first crack at school photography, seniors, like senior yearbook photos, was my fourth graders that I taught. And they were like, "Mr. Tademy, you're still taking photos?" And I was like, "I told y'all I was going to take photos. That's why I left." And they're like, "Most people just say that and then they just leave. They have a reason why they don't want to be a teacher, and it's usually us." And I was like, "No." And it was so cool to see them, because some of them were like tall as me. But when I met them, they were like to my knees or my waist. You know, they were tiny little fourth graders. And so that was like a little push to be like, "Bro, I made you go through all this other stuff so you could end up here." And I was like, "All right, I'm in. I don't care how many rounds we got to fight. I'm staying. They're going to knock me down, but they ain't going to knock me out."
Nice.
And the pandemic tried to do everything it could to knock me out, but I knew I was like, "Bro, I'm good." You know?
Did you ever have that full circle? Because I'm assuming you've, because you mentioned in a previous conversation that we've had that you've done the weddings for some of your previous seniors. So how is that like? Because I've actually done weddings for some of my former students now. They're all like in their 20s, approaching 30 now since I left. So it's been surreal almost, because it's like you see these kids when they're 13, 14, 15, like I had one that I taught all 4 years, or they were in my 3-year program. They did all 3 years with me, and then they go on, and then I end up photographing and filming their wedding. And I remember their parents going, "God, I remember we used to kick their ass in wrestling practice, and now you're doing their wedding." And it was, so for me, it was like just almost like a blast from the past. But like, what is that like to shoot a wedding for someone that was a senior for you?
I mean, it's like hanging out with an old friend all day, right? Like, they trust you. You trust them. You know you're going to give it your all for them. They know you're going to give your all for them too. And it's just like hanging out with friends all day. Like the client that I went to LA with, that was one of my seniors from 2017, I think. 2017.
Okay.
And it was just amazing to watch him grow up. He actually was my photo assistant for like 3 years, 2 or 3 years, when he was going through college. And I photographed his high school graduation, his college graduation, his master's. Like, he's been with me forever.
So it's befitting that you do the wedding and then do the kids, when it's like you're going to get like a real full circle moment with them when you start having kids and growing their family. And they're like,
right. And I always ask my wife, I say, "Chelsea, so-and-so's getting married. What you gonna do? You coming out of retirement or what from the wedding?" "Oh, for them? I'm in. So I said, "Hey, y'all got Chelsea come out of retirement on weddings, so it's a done deal."
Nice.
And it always feels good to have them.
That's a cool feat for me. Like I said, I'm right there with you. Like anytime I have like an old student, or for me, the real full circle moment is going to be one of my couples, and it's probably going to happen in the next year or two. But when a couple whose wedding that I did, their family grows, and then I end up doing their kid's wedding.
Yeah.
Like they have, the reason I say I'm having almost that full circle moment is because one of my early weddings, like in 2014, 2015, when I was like really coming into my own and really breaking out, and started, going from the shoot and burn $1,000 weddings, culture that we were in at that time. I shot her wedding. She was, they were a blended family, but their daughter was 10 years old at the time. And then I've had, here we are, fast forward, or no, she was 10 or 11. I can't remember, but now she's in her 20s in a serious relationship. And then mom reached out to me. She was like, "Hey, this guy that she's dating is pretty serious. Be ready, because I think, marriage is going to get down the pipeline." And I go, "Are you sure?" She's like, "He's had the conversation about getting our blessing." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's awesome.
Because she's saying he's older, he's graduating college this year and everything, so she's thinking it's going to be either this year or next year. He's dropping the question or whatever, and
Yeah.
She said, but she thinks she knows when it's going to happen. She thinks it's going to be at a Taylor Swift concert because they got a Taylor Swift concert later this year. I'm like, that's when it's going to happen. He's going to do it at
That's
that
cool.
concert. I already know. I can see it coming a mile away. But I said that to me, that's going to be really cool to go full circle in that within that family. So I'm excited about that.
She's a Chiefs fan too.
Oh yeah, I see that. I see that. Oh, how'd you enjoy the Super Bowl? Was that stressful for you, or that game was intense, man? When it hit overtime, I was just like, what got me is as soon as they hit overtime and they said, we'll take the ball first, I said, why did you do that? You let them go first so you know what to do. Because if you kick a field goal, like they're going to, even if they scored a touchdown, they were going to go for 2. Like they were going to go for the win. Like you needed to let them set that tone and adjust to it. And I was like, Patrick Mahomes did it again. I got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, it's like if the game is close at halftime, it's pretty much a victory if we catch the ball.
Yep.
Which we didn't really catch the ball this year. But I went to the Eagles game, Eagles versus Chiefs, with my buddy Tim, and we lost that game. But we won the one that mattered.
Exactly. It's like you can win all the games you win, but it doesn't matter unless you win the last game of the season.
Yeah.
The age-old Billy Bean saying. But looking down the pipeline, what's next for you coming up on the as we start opening up our new roads for this year?
I've already taught at 3 conferences already this year: Imaging USA, SPAC, and Sync. So conference-wise, I'm just going to go consume content at the next one, which will be Shutterfest. I've never actually been to WPPI in my life. We applied to speak, but I don't think they're too big on the volumes front at WPPI. So we talked to the lady, and she was really sweet. She sent us some passes to go, but I don't think we can make it. We could swing it with all the. It's pretty here right now, so everybody's trying to get work done.
Yeah,
and all the new. We do a lot of commercial work too. Like I was in Houston today shooting, and all the budgets are coming out, so we're getting a lot of commercial work right now, and we needed this month to kind of hang around and get some work done here. And then obviously Shutterfest next month. And I believe Got Photo Summer Camp is going to be in Chicago this year. So I'll probably end up at that as well.
Okay.
And yeah, man.
Nice.
And then the rest of the year we'll coast it out and just knock out a bunch of yearbook stuff, football, sports teams, rec leagues, all the above.
Okay, so before we close it out, I want to go with the what are you with new photographers emerging in the senior market now, especially with the younger crowd, the buy the camera. I'm going to do my friend's senior pictures. You see a lot of younger photographers emerging out. What are your 3 tips that you stick by that'll give them that longevity that you've seen, or what 3 tips do you have for the new photographers emerging in the senior market now?
I would say for new photographers coming out, especially in senior world, is communicate, set expectations, and be able to manage expectations. Like if it's outside of your skill set, what they're asking you to do, either find out how to do it as fast as you can and make sure you can manage their expectations. Because the worst thing you can do is promise somebody the stars and not be able to deliver, So communicate and manage expectations. Another thing I would say is to make sure that you come through for people. Like if you say you're going to do something, make sure you do it. Don't make promises you can't keep. And then always, what's it say? Over promise, like under promise, over deliver.
Yep.
Always
under promise, over deliver. Yeah. Under promise,
over deliver. I learned that from Zach and Jody. So I'm dating myself. I don't know if you remember them.
No, I remember them. Zach and Jody Gray.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I learned that from them. And then my final thing would be always invest in your craft. Always go out and do personal work. At least I've been trying to commit to doing it once a month, but just work that feeds your soul, not commission work, like not work you're getting paid for, just work that makes you happy. And I feel like if you do those 3 things, you'll be happy with your photography, because you'll always, like I just did a prom ad with a hairstylist, a hair school, some seniors, Well, actually, they were all juniors, some juniors and venue. We were supposed to have a limousine, but he couldn't make it. So we just all got together and filmed the prom ad to kind of boost prom sales for all of us because the dress people wanted. We had a names like Sal had talked about the other day, right? You're on Level Up, right?
Yeah, I'm on Level Up. I haven't watched this week's episode yet. Just
Yeah,
with packing and everything I got going on, and I
yeah,
had 2 weddings this weekend, so yeah.
yeah. So we're trying to network with people around me to make an ad that we can all
Okay.
share and get a list and do that. So it was refreshing to do just personal work. You know, all
Nice.
the
Nah,
girls dressed up in their dresses, and it was just a good time.
yeah, I'm right there with you on the third one. I think doing personal work helps fight the mundane of what we do. And I always said the day I just continue to phone it in at a wedding and not try anymore and just say, oh, I can do a standard wedding shoot or I can do standard pictures at a wedding effortlessly, not even try. The day I get to that point where I'm consistently doing that, I'm going to step away from weddings for like take a sabbatical from it because the day I'm not pushing myself creatively and not trying to push my limits or try something different, yeah, you're going to get your safe shots, but then let's go for those iconic shots. Let's go for those things. Let's take that chance. Let's give them something that no one else can repeat that, like I'm
Yeah,
always chasing that high of that, taking that one picture and then showing the back of the camera to another photographer saying, follow that. And they're like, almost like what it was with you with the Creator Series, like the way you guys had to interact and, because I said your first season set the tone. I know you guys were a tight knit group, but I mean, you guys had some skilled people there. Like it was some, like and the crazy thing was everyone, when they were doing, when they were picking who they think could win and everybody's making their predictions, I felt like the March Madness where everyone's brackets got busted because I remember David was on the top of everyone's list because of the work
yeah,
that he puts out, on the commercial side. And then when he got eliminated earlier, they were like, "Oh crap!" And then I've openly said that my main pick was Ning just because of our friendship.
yeah.
He was my main pick. But then I told everybody, I said, depending on like what style of shooting they're doing, because I don't know what the prompts are going to be. I remember telling everybody you were, told everybody you and, gosh, Bethany were my dark horse picks. I told everybody Bethany was my dark horse pick, just like I told everybody Margot was my dark horse pick, but I said Andre was the guy to beat. And I said, if
Yeah.
you can get past Andre, then, if he gets eliminated early or if he gets eliminated somewhere in the middle, then you have that's going to be the bracket buster shot because it's like, who do you think is going to win? I said, well, I'm looking at it. I love these people. Season 2, I love them to death, but Andre was my pick. I said, but I have a dark horse pick, and they're like, who's your dark horse? I told everybody I thought it was Margot. I said because I think she took your
Yeah.
approach where it's like, you know what, I don't got to be the best, I just don't got to be the worst, and that's kind of approach I've
Right.
always taken. Was like, I'm not the best, but I'm definitely not the worst. And if you put me in
Yeah.
a room with 20 photographers, I'm going to outshoot at least 10 of them for sure.
Yeah.
And then I'll feed off of the other 10 and get better, and then be in the conversation of being one of the better ones in the room. That's always been my approach.
It made me laugh how many people were like, we only get 10 minutes. We only get 10 minutes. And I was like, 10 minutes for one person?
Yeah.
Because I'm used to doing schools and like sports teams. And I'm like, 10 minutes with one person? I was like, this is going to be forever. But then you start to, as the competition kept going, I realized, okay, 10 minutes ain't that long. But
Yeah.
it felt like long the first time, especially with natural light. You had nothing to set up.
Yeah, you're like, okay, where's the
Yeah.
light coming from? All right, what direction do I want to hit? What side do I like? I like that side. Okay, have
Yeah.
the light hit that side. What's the pose? What's the composition? And it's easy to say that as I'm sitting in my chair, armchair quarterbacking that thing. I'm pretty sure if I was in that same situation, like 10 minutes natural light go, and I'm like, crap, what's my f-style? What do I do? I don't know how to hold this camera. It's like, I use an R5. Why do I not know how to work this thing now?
Yeah. I think that just having so many ideas was the real crippler. It's like, okay, if they don't like this, then they like this. If they don't like this, you don't like this. And then you go back to that was the thing. Your brain can mess you up.
Okay.
Because it's like, too much overload. So, yeah. But
Now,
I did feel like at first, go ahead.
I remember the story of them saying you always wanted to use water. Like, Leroy wants to pour water all the time. And I was like, let him pour the water. And they're like, no, he would have ruined the floors and took out the electrical. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was trying to get some reflections, man.
There you
The
go.
reflections was a challenge.
Yep,
So,
gotta take a chance. Go big or go home, right? It's like take that safe shot
right.
that you know is going to be competitive, but then, all
Mhm.
right, now this one's for me and this one's for the marbles, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like the first shot is that layup or dunk, and the next one is going to be that 80-foot 3-pointer. That's going to be
Hmm.
remembered. So
That's
I
it.
love it. So, where can we find you on social media, man? I don't, we're hitting that 45-minute mark, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. You've already given us so much of your time today. Where can we find you at on social media?
Yeah, so on social media, my personal Instagram is photo Leroy T, PHOTO LEROYT. And then my business is Tademy Photo. Just
Nice
like that
plug.
right there.
Yep.
Boom.
Love the
Easy
shirt.
peasy. And then for Facebook, it's just Leroy Tademy. And then I think TikTok is Tademy Photo. Like
Okay.
I'm
We'll
pretty
we'll definitely
unoriginal.
plug all your stuff and I'll take more looks
Yeah.
at your TikTok just because I want to see if you sold out and started doing the dances and everything.
No.
No.
Wait a minute. No.
My
I'm
daughter's
not
trying to
that
get me to do
skilled.
all that. She's like, do this, dad, do that. I'm like, nope. I'm always on her TikTok making fun of her.
Yeah, I'm not
Like,
that skilled.
yeah, like I was cooking dinner the other night and she was going behind me filming everything as if she was cooking it to her followers. And then I finally go, stop lying. You didn't cook a damn thing. So everyone's laughing because she kept it in there because she's like, all right, I'm doing chicken and dumplings. I'm like, damn well you're not doing no chicken and dumplings. And I'm on my phone,
That's
like,
it.
doing the response video. And it was a big thing. And I was
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah.
I was like, you are so lying. This is like, and she's like, Dad, everyone's going to hear that. I'm like, they need to hear that.
They need
Don't
to
lie to
hear
those
it.
people. You can cook, but you can't make chicken and dumplings. Don't even tell that lie.
Yeah.
All right. You know how to make
Yeah.
7 things right now. That's where you're at. You're 17.
That's
You know
it.
how to make about 7 things, but
I'm good at them 7.
you can make the hell out of some eggs. I taught you well, kid, but
There
do
we
not come in
go.
here acting like you made beef Wellington or chicken, chicken and dumplings or meatloaf or a pot roast. You didn't do any of that. You just eat the food and enjoy it.
Yeah. You'd be like Uncle Roger.
There you go. Uncle Roger. Yeah, I love that guy. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. TikTok
That's
is the devil right now. That's like my
yeah.
guilty vice right now. I'll literally 2
Yeah.
hours and like, oh crap, I didn't do any work. Which is why I
Hmm.
hired an editor so I can watch.
That's it, man. You got
You know.
to. You got to scale up.
But hey, thank you so much again, man, for your time, for your conversation, man. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you next month, man. And all the blessings, man.
Yep. I still got my shirt too.
Yes.
I'm the photographer's
I plan
favorite.
on y'all
I
rocking.
wanted to wear it today, but I forgot.
You know what? I barely wear it. I wear it as a joke. Like the whole thing of that was it was a joke that started a couple years ago. Because somebody goes, well, who's that guy? And one of my friends goes, that's Marvin Blue. You don't know who Marvin Blue is? And she was like, no. She's like, he's like my favorite photographer. And she's like, and then one girl goes, well, I thought but you're my favorite photographer. She's like, yeah, he's your favorite photographer's favorite photographer. And like, that's the whole thing that started. Cause then everyone was like, oh, like they were saying my name in Hudson. I go, why are they doing that? Like somebody said that you're their favorite photographer's favorite photographer. And then I'm looking at Megan like, did you really just tell everybody I'm your favorite photographer? Because Megan's a friend. And she's like, yeah, I said it as a joke because somebody didn't know who you were. And I was like, I don't expect them to. I'm not on any of these banners. And she's like, they need to know who you are. We were just joking around. And then it just kind of created an energy and life of its own to where it just became this whole thing and this whole movement as a big joke. And you know me, when it's a good joke and it makes a good story, I'll lean into it. Let's have fun with it.
Let's go with it. It's hanging in my closet.
Yeah, I need to get new ones made. I need to do like a new pose and everything.
There we go.
But they're like the fact that you made a T-shirt of you of a picture of you wearing your T-shirt of your face. Like it was hilarious. It's one thing to have your face on a T-shirt, but then it's another thing of the picture of you wearing that T-shirt is what makes it even more hilarious because it's not just one thing. It's the how can I make this even funnier than what it needs? Or how can I make this even more just ridiculous? And that was the whole premise behind the joke. But yeah. But hey, man, again, thank you for your time, man. I'll see you next month. And again, look forward to our next conversation and just continue to learn from you, man.
Same. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Bye.
That's it for this week's show. Again, thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with others. Leave those reviews and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until then, see you next week.